The inspiration to keep going is maybe the fact that I want to succeed in everything that I do. Success to me is a journey, not a destination. The idea is that if I have set a benchmark for myself, first the target is to go and achieve that benchmark. The second target is to going and bettering that benchmark.
Guys, she needs no
That's a lot of homework done.
I do my job properly, Anjum. Many of the people have been messaging me before the session. They're all, including myself, we're all been huge fans of, what you've done, and we're also proud. And and many of us have actually seen you play in Firosha Kotla as well. And I know recently there was also a gate named after you. So we're all very proud of that. But still, as my duty, I'm going to do a small introduction, guys. I mean, the complete introduction for Anjum would take half an hour in itself. So I'm going to take the liberty of making it a bit short. But I'm just going to tell you that she's the one who has two things, if I can tell about her introduction. One is she for all we know, when we were all growing up, nobody knew women's cricket or nobody took it seriously when we were all young. And I think only after Anjum and under her leadership, players like Mithali Raj, we all started to understand what women cricket is. And I think she in many ways put India on the global women cricket footprint. And, she has got a list of the firsts which she has done for our country. She's the first woman to have got honorary life membership of the Malibon, coveted Malibon Cricket Club, MCC at Lords. She's got Arjuna Award. She's a Padma Shri honorary as well. And she's the first to play 6 World Cups. She's the first to make a ODI century as a woman cricketer. She has been Indian cricket team's captain. She has broken so many records and more importantly, so many glass ceilings, which nobody thought was even possible before she actually made it a reality. So a very warm welcome to you, Anjum. We are so proud of you. And we are so honored to have you spending time with us.
Thanks, Kartik. Thank you so much.
And Anjum, I know, and I'm sure you would tell us a bit more about your life journey. But I can't even fathom, or I think many of us take it for granted when we read or hear about you. But I think it's unimaginable. I mean, 20 years back, or even further, when you started your career, when nobody really thought that women could play cricket in India, it was an unimaginable thought. How you sort of countered that entire, I'm sure you faced a lot of resistance, constraints, although you came from a family of sports persons, so may not be at a lot of pressure at home, but, from the administrative boards to administration to, your peers who might be taking up lucrative career opportunities or studying abroad. How did that feel to face all that pressure of expectations when people were choosing the conventional path, if I may say so, and you sort of took the path less followed or less traversed and actually made it a success? But I want to know that early part of that journey when it was so hard and nobody really believed that this could be done, which you actually end up doing. So tell us a bit about that early part of your journey.
So, Kartik, it was very simple from where I see it today. I'm documenting it. So, what you say is absolutely right. From where I see it today, to live through that journey, especially, and even today, of course, it's changed to a large extent today, but it's still an early doors to have a woman take up sports as a career. So, but I think when I just look back and think, I think I just followed my passion because I wanted to play, because I was given the direction that if you want to go in a certain path, then make sure that you work at it and you are very good at it. Because look, I think it's very clear in our country that mediocrity has no value and mediocrity has no takers. So to excel, you obviously need to be good, but to be the best, there are a lot of things that you need to do in every sphere, in every department, to become the best, because you can't become the best in your own mind. You need to become the best in the world, and for that you have to start from home. So it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen just like that. It is years of hard work, persistence, being resilient, and just believing in yourself. It doesn't happen. I mean, all these words are very nice English words that I'm able to use
Right.
today, but it doesn't happen. I think every day is a challenge, and every day is a journey that you live by it. And as a kid, you're just involved in that very present moment, because you can't have that kind of wisdom or looking back and say, oh, tomorrow's going to be a brighter day. That somebody else has to say that to you. You only thinking about the present, and it's like, if the present hasn't been good, and the past hasn't been very good, like a previous year you've not scored well, then your future is not going to show any bright colors. So I think it's about the other people around you, giving you the confidence, keeping you in that present moment, saying, okay, it's gone, it's already history, now let's go to the next chapter. Tomorrow is going to be a brighter day, and keeping that encouragement going right through for you. So fortunately for me, because that background, that structure has been around, they know how to lose a game, they know how to bounce back and win a game. The discussions have been around as such, and more so, I think the own self belief, and it grows. It doesn't happen. You don't buy self belief, and you don't get it from anywhere. You have to cultivate it, and you structure it yourself. It's just going by day, and just being there, and knowing that, look, if victory is your target, it wouldn't come to you. You have to go to it. And if winning a world title is your target, then somebody else is not there ready to put the medal around your neck. You have to still bend down and accept that medal. But before accepting it, you still have to climb up those steps onto the dais, and it's not easy, because you're not going to be welcomed onto the winner stage. There is already somebody else, and lot many other teams and people vying for that same top honor.
Right. No, it's a very insightful thought. And what I've also seen and read about you is that you are extremely, uh, a positive person, and in even in situations. And I'm gonna keep drawing some parallels with, what happens in management, because many
Hmm.
times people think management only happens in the boardroom, but I keep telling them that you could also learn about management from what happens on the ground. In fact, it's much more, real time decisions have to be taken when you're on the ground. You have got conflict resolution, negotiations, you need to do politics. Everything happens, in a much profound way in sports, right? And people think,
and
no,
it's
everything.
and it's quick decision making. It doesn't happen. You don't plan for it. You plan for it
Exactly.
the previous day and the previous night, but what actually comes to you, it has to be at that spur of the moment.
No, and in fact, and many people keep asking me these questions as we are speaking. Tell us an interesting incident on the field when, you had a strategy in place and everybody in the dressing room agreed that, this is how we're going to do it, and everything sort of, you thought everything is sorted, and then you went and something out of the blue happened. It rained, or Louis Duckworth was put in place, or something like this, which really made you think on your feet, and you didn't have any backup plan in mind, which so many times happen in business scenarios, right? You have plan A, B, C, and you realize that all of them are not going to work this time, because either the enemy is different, or the context is suddenly changed, or a new variable has been introduced which you didn't plan for. So have you encountered any such situation on the ground where despite all your planning it didn't work out and you had to think on your feet?
Um, yeah, I think, Kartik, thinking on the feet is part and parcel of the sport. So I think the very basic fact of sports is, like, people only see the finished product and
Right.
what they see on television. But
Right.
sorry, what they don't see is the behind the scenes. And behind the scenes, the footage is always what you're saying, that you plan, you identify, and you sort your flaws out, and you become a much better player. But what actually happens in that match in front of the millions and billions watching, that is a completely different story. You might have heard a lot many players going, oh, everything went according to plan, and
Hmm.
we always focus on the process, and if our process is right, we will reach the result. So these are the key words which probably have been drawn parallel from management
Hmm.
field, and put in together in terms of practically doing it. When you say process, like I read about a subject called business process reengineering during my MBA days. and I only know what the full form of VPR is.
You've done an MBA also. So you've left nothing for us mortals. You've done all this in your life and you've done MBA, which is one thing all the management people have on their writing wall that, we are an MBA and you have done that also. So
Yeah,
there's no beating
and
you.
fortunately, I could manage to squeeze in a regular MBA. So I didn't go to a working managers or a quick one of a year and 4 months. It was a regular 2 year MBA which I did from Ford School of Management in Delhi, because that's the only institute that gave me admission in Delhi. Otherwise, I would have had to go out. Sorry. So and that very year that they introduced that if you want to specialize in two subjects, you can. So like every brave kid, all studious children, I also put my hand up without realizing that to finish one subject specialization in 1 year was tough. So add on two was going to be like a disaster, especially when I was busy playing my first World Cup during the year I was in the MBA, during my first year of MBA. So it was like
Okay.
ending up doing 52 papers in a trimester system in like 2 years. So that was like really taught me the technique of time management,
Mhm.
and whatever is that important, just in time. And it's like whatever is important, focus on that. So
Right.
if economics has to be studied, economics only has to be studied, because the following day it's going to be organizational behavior. So don't focus on it because you don't know anything about it. Focus on economics on day one. So, a lot of these words have come out from the management institutes only, but practically, without being biased, if I say that sports people use it every day, yes, they do it. Because, we don't draw pie charts only. We draw pie charts only for that moment. We draw charts only to explain what has happened today on the ground. And we draw inference from it to imbibe that knowledge of what a practice session has been, what the chart looks like, what the numbers look like, but how do we deliver it tomorrow? And tomorrow is not a presentation. Tomorrow is an actual match where one ball
Right.
can get you out and one wrong decision can cost you the victory. So, that's the kind of pressure that you incorporate it and you learn it and you move forward. So, yes, those words are pretty much similar, but the reaction time is very less.
Right. And similar to business processes or corporate, even in sports now you see a lot of technology is being, some people
Yeah.
who are like purists of sport, they say that it's just too much of technology. You're analyzing and micro analyzing every ball, every move you make as a player. And there's so much of analysis which happens post match, pre match, and it sort of puts a player into a lot of pressure, some
Hmm.
mistakes, but it's also good, right? Because you are able to then micro analyze your mistakes.
Yeah.
But how do you see the role of technology, and some of the players who come from different backgrounds, who are not able to sort of use some of these technology methods versus people who have got access to some of those tools, which so happens also in business, right? I mean, you've got
Yeah.
preferential access to certain knowledge or information, and we know that in sports people come from all over India, from different parts of the world. And
Yeah.
how do you see that technology playing out? Do you think it's a overkill, or how players are now able to sort of embrace technology in what they do?
I think the present generation, they embrace technology, even if they don't know it, even if they don't study information technology. The gadgets have become so very user friendly that they just pick up any of the phones or any of the gadgets and say, okay, this is how it's used, or they learn it very very quickly from their teammates. So usage of technology has become very easy, and whatever softwares the cricketers or any other sports people use, I think they're very user friendly as well. So I've always believed that technology is there for your help. Technology is there to make you understand how better you can use your own credentials to become a much better player. For example, how technology is used. Like you would know that a bowler like Jasprit Bumrah, for example, is very good at bowling Yorkers in the death overs or even the initial overs. So you know that a Yorker is going to be coming every second or the third ball. So you prepare to facing a Yorker, but does it come on the second or the third ball? That is human intelligence. That's your own
Hmm.
player intelligence, game intelligence that gets you the better of Jasprit Bumrah, or the latter gets the better of you. So that decision is always going to be there with the player, but you can prepare better because you know a particular bowler bowls a particular kind of delivery
Hmm.
very very well. So you change your stance, or you are better prepared with your back lift, or you are just taking a single and going to the opposite end and asking somebody else to face the ball, your other partner. So technology helps you understand your opposition and yourself in a much clearer perspective. Earlier, you couldn't watch your batting, for example. When
Right.
you're batting in the nets, somebody used to tell you that you're moving ahead quite early, or you're moving back quite early, or you're moving away from the line of the ball. Now I only had to imagine it. Oh, moving away from the line of the ball, all right.
Mhm.
But now when you see the camera, which is completely focused on a batter in front of you, from where the bowler releases the ball, and then you can, from side angle, from front angle, you can break it down in parts and understand when your coach says, or you yourself can analyze, oh, I went too early or I went too late to playing that shot. That's where technology helps you, and that's what makes practice much simpler, makes understanding of your own game much simpler. So that way you can imbibe a lot of technology. But for me, I still feel that you need to have a very clear mind. You need to think between your ears. You need to have a very clear understanding about your own game, and you need to adapt to the situation very quickly. So training and technology go hand in hand. But when you come to a match contest, or when you come to a World Cup final, all that preparation that you've done over the years, I think you need to have a very cool, calm, collected mind to
Mhm.
imbibe that pressure. And
Right.
whatever learnings you've taken from the technology and your practice sessions, put it into actual practice.
Anjum, interestingly, I have realized that after politicians, the people who face the most criticism is are cricketers in our country. I mean, practically. Whether I mean, you
After
might have
politicians,
okay, and sometimes even more than
I
politicians.
think the
Uh,
players play, non-COVID days, players play
mhm.
more than the politicians play, no?
So and the criticism, like I mean, if we take you as a case study, I mean, the
Hmm.
criticism varied from when you join as a new player that you have to perform well, to when you take on more leadership as a captain, then the responsibility is to win. If you win,
Hmm.
then it's like, why didn't you win the World Cup? And if you win a World Cup, then why didn't you win again? And then when you get now yourself, you getting into commentary, into administration of side of the things. I know a lot of people then spark debates around about equal pay, and I know you were very vocal about this whole issue of equal pay, and you candidly said that if we won the World Cup, if
Yeah.
we win more, obviously logically equal pay would come into play. So the criticism and this intensity is varies, right, for any player
Hmm.
across their career. But how do you, I mean, for an average person, it's just sometimes too much to take, because you've been doing everything right, and you make one mistake, or you sometimes you don't even make a mistake, but people try to frame you into a criticism. So how taxing is it? I mean, I know everybody puts in a brave smile and talks about it, but tell us behind the scenes how tough it is. Sometimes does it get to you? Sometimes it breaks you down that what the hell is happening? I'm doing everything right, but why are still
Hmm.
people acting as they are an enemy?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how do you handle that situation?
I think it's very draining. I won't say that it's easier for a sports person to handle it, or easier for a non-sports person to handle it. I think it's every person to themselves how they take it. Of course, for example, let's take the scenario that you mentioned, that without a fault of you actually conducting that mistake, or without any fault of yours, but you're actually framed into it. Yes, that happens. I have also been framed into not one but quite a few times. But
Mm,
it's very draining because you're fighting the odds, and at that point of time, you realize that you're the only one who's standing outside the boundary line. Just to be more descriptive
mm-hmm,
for our audience, so you're the only one
mm-hmm,
who's standing outside the boundary line, where everybody else is inside the boundary line. And the game happens inside the ropes, not outside the ropes. Outside the ropes, you
right.
only prepare and you're only waiting. But you're actually not being able to partake in the ropes, in the game which is happening inside the ground. And irrespective of how much you want to shout and tell the world of your innocence, it's like a glass shield. You might be shouting, but nobody is interested in listening to you, either because they don't want to stand next to you and say that yes, you're in the right corner, or maybe you're not making sense, or you're not reaching the right audience. So I think for everyone, whether it is, I mean, any player, be the top-notch player in our country or in the world, everyone goes through it. And that's why since a few years, we are hearing about a lot of stories coming out about players fighting depression, film stars fighting depression. And it does happen because you start doubting your abilities. No,
Mm,
no one ever in the world will not have a doubt about your own abilities, be it at the start of their career, during their career, or even when they're at the top of their marks. You still have it. But I think what sport teaches you, what cricket actually teaches you, is playing that one ball at a time. Sometimes when you know that you're scoring, you need to score 20 runs in the last over to win a match. You can't score 20 runs on that one ball. So it's like one ball game. Play one ball at a time, because you miss that ball, and you get bored, you're walking back to the pavilion. So you're not an asset to the team. In fact, you've lost a ball as well. So it's just that one ball game. Either you take a single, go down to the other end, let your partner score the 19 runs, or divide it amongst yourself, 10 each or either side or whatever, or maybe just just wait for that loose ball to come from the bowlers. So whatever it is, play that one ball at a time, because that's all you're going to get. You're not going to get six balls thrown at you at once. You will only get one. Try to make the most of that one delivery. Players like MS Dhoni, Virat, and everyone can hit a six of that one ball and get the equation down straight away to 14, which is very doable. Or players like others, they just make sure they rotate strike and they keep rotating the strike good well enough to reach their target. So that technique of reaching the target of 20 is everyone to themselves. But what helps you in your mental development or keeping you in that fray at that very moment is that one ball game. So play that one ball, be in that zone. We'll think about the next ball after we've played the first ball, and break that down as well. It's not okay. Oh, let me play that first one ball. I'll score a boundary. It doesn't happen like that. Break it down even further. So when the bowler is about to run up, you don't need to focus as a batter on the bowler's runner. Somebody might have a very long run up. Somebody might be running from 30 yards. So you don't need to focus on 30 yards,
Right.
because
Right.
the ball is not going to get delivered from the 30 yards. The ball
Correct.
is only going to get delivered when the bowler releases the ball, which is practically going to be, by the time it reaches you, it comes down to, it's within the 22 yards that I'm talking about. So,
Hmm.
it's from that distance. And if you step out further, you're reducing the distance from where the bowler is delivering to you. So focus on that very moment, just before that bowler, just very fraction of a second, the bowler is about to deliver that ball, and you're into your stance, and that fraction of a second, the ball reaches you. So it's that kind of focus. And then you're very aware whether the ball is going to the boundary. If it's not, can you convert that one into two or two into three? And then analyze after that delivery is done as to what is the equation. So it's being in
Hmm.
that present, to making it
Right.
much more simpler for the audience. It's being in that present at that very minute or that
But
very second.
interestingly, you mentioned about this focus, and many people also asking me that
Hmm.
there is a pressure from the audience. That's one thing, but then sometimes also players get into sledging, which is now a very
Hmm.
fashionable thing, and I think some of the players in our team also resort to such techniques.
Hmm.
What is your take on that? Do you think it's really distracting? Do you believe in it? Do you think it's not part of that sort of gentleman,
Hmm.
gentlewoman play which cricket was all about? What is your take on that? Because we also
Look,
face the same thing in business, right? The competitors
absolutely.
doing dirty tricks, right? So is it fair? Is everything fair in sports, or do you think it's one too much?
See, sports is supposed to be fair, and it is fair. I think sports is the biggest leveler that you can ever find, because look, let me put it in the other way around. You're not going to the ground to be well received by your competitors, because you're not giving them a welcome either way. It's competition, and in a competition, everything is fair, and it is, as long as you're not getting personal. The question arises, or the conflict arises, when you start getting personal, and whatever banters have come out, or whatever controversies have been created around the sport, has only been because of people getting affected by personal banter. And mind you, Karthik, it's not only the people who are around you who tell you. People from outside the boundary ropes also keep reminding you. When you're coming down, walking onto the ground, they keep reminding you. And when you walk back up, also they tell you what your scores have been. Similar to
Okay.
what, when if you walk into your office and you're about to give a
Hmm?
presentation, and just ch- by chance your computer doesn't work, I say,
Right.
okay, that's a very good start to your presentation. Oh, you're wearing a white shirt today. I thought the memo was for blue. So that's a comment. That's a sledge. In the
Right.
sporting field, it's called a sledge. In a corporate environment, it's called a nasty comment. So
Right.
it's while you walk down the corridor. Oh, good luck for your presentation.
Yeah, I'm getting memories from Deloitte. Right, and
But yeah, what
Anjum,
did that? actually, because it's competition.
Right. No, absolutely. And I'm going to take a couple of questions from the audience as well,
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
interest of time. So
Hmm.
people are saying that, and they knew, and AIMA members all,
Yeah.
pride themselves on being management professionals. They are saying you have taken MBA lessons into sports without telling anybody. That's a secret which is revealed now. So when are you sharing your learnings from the sports back to the management fraternity for our benefit?
So pretty soon, pretty soon. If you want to hear that, when the lockdown opens up, then I'm sure we can organize that session, Kartik. If
Okay.
you really want to have that. Otherwise, it will reach your coffee tables pretty soon. It will happen in next year only by 2021, where it will reach the coffee
So you're
tables pretty
coming up
soon.
with a book.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. And
Yeah.
the last question is, how do you see? I mean, everybody's saying this too shall pass, and the whole
Hmm.
positive vibe around it. But do you
Hmm.
think it will fundamentally, in some way, change the nature of sports and that whole energy of people thronging and crowding in stadiums, cheering for their teams? Do you see how far we are from restoring that level of people getting together and watching a
Hmm.
match in a stadium and shouting? Or do you think with time in the near future, or maybe in mid to long term, people would be more comfortable, watching it from their homes, experiencing social distancing? Or do you think this is just a phase, it will pass and we'll all be back to our crazy self?
I don't think humans are really created to have a social distancing being practiced. I don't think it will take some time for us to realize that what social distancing is and what cleanliness and maintaining healthy environment is. I think the day the lockdown opens up, we'll see a complete change. Meeting people, suddenly we've been meeting people, having an interface like
Right.
this. Suddenly, when we see so many people on the streets, we might just get scared of the whole thing. And but yes, if for the moment, if the crowds are not allowed into the stadiums and all these reasons are actually practiced, then yes, it's definitely going to make an impact, and it has made an impact. It's made an impact in the corporate world. It will make an impact in the sporting fraternity as well. But we can only hope and pray that as we go along, things start becoming much more better, or start getting controlled in a much nicer manner, that we're back to living in a much more cordial environment. So, leave out what all bad things were supposed to be left out, like respecting environment. Most importantly, let's learn to create that more frequently within our system. So, a lot of good things. Let's imbibe that, and then when we move forward, I'm sure it will take time, but I do feel that it will all get restored.
Great. With this, we are almost out of time. And thank you so much, Anjum,
My
for taking
pleasure.
out time. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to hold you on to your promise of coming and spending time with us again when your book is launched. So that's the public news now you have shared with us. Is the title decided?
But make sure, no, make sure it's the title is not decided. I mean, I will be
Okay.
sharing all this information. It's still
Okay.
in the pipeline. It's still too far
Okay.
away. So probably this is the first time that I've ever openly spoken about it. But yes, it's in the pipeline, and it does take time to document it. It doesn't matter to even think of one match and write about that one match. It takes nearly half a day or sometimes a day to just complete those two pages. Believe me, you might have played it in your mind, but when you
Right.
actually put it down, when you put pen to paper, or you put the effort of
Right.
typing out, it does take time. It doesn't happen quickly.
No, I'm sure it'll come out soon and we'll
So
all see you again.
let's keep it still a secret. When I'm there, then you'll have it on your coffee table, as I said later. But till that time, we'll
Sure.
have an interface like this. This is better.
Sure. Thank you so much, Anjum, for
My
coming
pleasure.
again. We are so privileged to have you, and thank you everyone who joined us in for this session. And we hope to see you in our next session on next Friday. Till then, stay safe, stay at home. Have a great evening ahead with your family. Thanks
Yeah.
again. Thank you.
Thank you.